Welcome to Grub with Gruber, where I dish with amazing people over amazing dishes. Today, I'm at Market here in Punta Cana, and we're gonna have 3 rounds of meals here with my special guest. Her name is Becky Nova. She's a real estate investor, head of Lady Landlords, and she's a fellow expat like me down here in the Dominican Republic. We're gonna talk about moving here, real estate, and how to make money while living here. And by the way, Market's gonna bring out their 4th course, special course, their absolute #1 thing that they sell here. Wait till you see that. Ay, ay, ay.
Qué bonita, gracias.
This is chorizo and guandules? Chorizo y guandules? Is that the, it's burning your face?
No.
No.
No, it does not. It's not as hot as it looks. Believe it or not.
On chorizo, you can't go wrong. Chorizo?
Chorizo? No.
That's
to me,
good.
like if I see that on a menu, you just I have to order it. I'm like, I don't care what it comes with. I don't care what it's in. That's it. I'm
That's
sold.
good. That is good. Oh, a little hotter. That's good though. It's
It's
really
very good. It has a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah.
Not just the chorizo, but
Agreed. Hi, Becky. Why did you choose the Dominican Republic?
I did not choose the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic chose me.
It's a good answer.
Also, as somebody that's also married, sometimes you have to do things in marriage just to compromise and make the other person happy, and also not to pick a fight.
So who made who happy?
We both did. It was actually a compromise that worked out really well. I had lived abroad previously. I'd lived in Europe for years. I used to live in Spain for like 4 or 5 years. I lived in Portugal. So when I moved back to the States, I really wanted to move abroad again. And when I met my husband, that was always like my idea. And I was like, yes, this guy's from the Caribbean? That's even better. Like, this could be gorgeous, amazing. And then we got married, we're together for a few years. And then he's like, no, I didn't want to move back. I didn't want to go back to the Dominican Republic. And I'm like, but you're from the Caribbean. Why would you want to be in New York and in the cold when you could be somewhere nicer?
Yeah.
So the best way to be able to get him to agree to move somewhere else was the country that he knew the best. I'm the risk taker, he's the conservative one.
Yeah.
So him moving somewhere else where he was like, but how am I gonna get jobs? How are we gonna pay taxes? Was really difficult for him. Here, he understood how the system works. He speaks the language. His family is remotely close to us. So that's actually how we decided on DR, because it was the only way I can get him to move abroad, and I wasn't gonna put up a fight for that.
How did you do it? Was it like, did you just move, or did you come down and test it for a few weeks? Like, how did that transition happen?
So I would have just jumped. I would have just sold everything, rented out my place, and I would have just gotten on a plane with 2 suitcases to come down here like I did when I moved to Europe. But with him, it had to really be just showing him the steps to it and really kind of walking him through the fact that this was possible.
Yeah.
So back in 2020, you might not remember this, but in March 2020,
A long time ago now, yeah.
a lot of us were sent home, quarantined.
I thought there was something really specific.
You really did
I
actually
was
just
like,
get
what
that.
did I not remember? Yes. Yeah.
So March 2020.
What was that called?
What was COVID.
Yeah. Something like that. I think
Something
that's
like
wrong, but we'll go with it.
So we were in New York, we were quarantined already for months. As we got into the fall of 2020, I said to him, I was like, there's no way I'm going to sit inside a New York City apartment now through winter when it's already dark and cold and you can't go anywhere anyways.
Yeah.
So I said, that's it. We're gonna go somewhere. So we always come to DR to spend Christmas and New Year's with his family. So I said, we're gonna stay, let's stay for a month. What I did to get around that actually was that I bought him for his birthday a month's stay here.
Oh, really? Like at a resort, or just like a flight open-ended to
An Airbnb.
An Airbnb.
I rented the Airbnb.
Gotcha.
So that was actually my plan. That was my birthday gift, but it was really my birthday gift because I got to come down here. So we came down in January 2021, stayed for the month, and then kind of as we got through the end of the month, we were like, what do we have to go home for?
Yeah.
We're working remote. We can work from anywhere. We can just live here. And we really like it here. So at that point in time, we started looking into different complexes, different neighborhoods, where did we want to live, what that was going to look like. And then we started to build upon that. We ended up staying 3 months that first year.
In Punta Cana, Airbnb?
In Punta Cana.
Got it, yeah.
In Punta Cana area. I actually wanted to go closer to where my husband's family
Where
is in
that?
the capital.
Oh, Santo Domingo,
So
okay.
his mother's side is from the capital. His father's side's from Nizao, so much more the countryside, the campo, as you call it here.
El campo.
I wanted to be in that side because to me it was more Dominican. My husband was just like, nope, we can't be that close to family. We could be close, but we can't be that close. So he was actually the one that picked Punta Cana.
That's funny. My wife said the same thing. Higüey,
Yeah.
she's from Higüey, so it's not that far, but we talked about, do we want to be in Higüey? It's way cheaper.
Right.
Way less expensive to live there. And we have all this support there. All of my wife's my in-laws, my wife's uncles and aunts and all of that. Just her immediate family is in the States.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Like, maybe a little too close. And I mean, you just don't get like if you're in the DR, or DR, some people get nutty about the DR. If you're in DR, to me, like the beaches are the draw. Like we spend every Sunday at the beach pretty much, right?
Right.
I know you do. You live right near the beach or on the beach.
I'm on the beach every day.
Exactly. So that was part of the calculus for us as well, was that Higüey is inland and we wanted to be out here a bit more. So, but we did the 1 month thing too.
Yeah.
The 1 month Airbnb. I think that's a smart move. Like come down for a month and kind of figure out your patterns and all of that stuff. So you stayed 3 months.
Right.
Where was the Airbnb in Punta Cana? What area? What part?
In Los Corrales.
Oh, so it was, okay.
Interestingly, it was at a complex called Playa Turquesa. We started looking everywhere else. We started at Playa Turquesa. That's when we realized that real estate here works completely different than the United States. But at that point in time, we just started to learn about different neighborhoods. We went to go see new developments. We went to go see things that were already constructed. We went to go see anything we could. Sometimes we'd see the same unit like 3 times with 3 different agents.
Yeah.
But it was at least just giving us an idea of what prices, what we can get for money, what one neighborhood was like, and what we liked and what we kind of really wanted.
Yeah. Los Corrales for you, it's just the two of you, no kids. I've said before, Los Corrales is the spot for that. Like if you're going to be in the Punta Cana area and you're young couple or single for that matter.
Right.
That's the spot. Is that fair?
Yes, because everything is right outside your door. You can get to restaurants, bars, everything is nice and walkable, which also makes it a bit easier.
Yeah.
But for me, it also was. We don't have kids yet. But part of this for me was that I really wanted to make sure that when we have kids, that their first language is Spanish. I want them to understand that chicken has bones in it.
Yeah.
I want them to really understand what life in the Dominican Republic really is like, because that's their father's culture.
Yeah, I figured out chickens have bones at 30 when I met my wife and came down here for the first time.
Isn't that weird?
I know, yeah. Like, oh, there's something in this weird. Right? It's supposed to be just all plucked out.
And I can't just sit there and cut it with a knife. I actually have to like dig in and just put my hands in that.
Exactly. Just bite it out.
And that's okay.
So, all right. So you're in Los Corrales. What was I going to ask you just now? I was going to ask you something about, safety. What's your take on safety here? Like, I know that's a concern for a lot of people, but like, what does that mean to you? What do you feel do you feel safe? Where do you feel unsafe? How do you feel unsafe? Do you ever?
So when we first came down here, back in 2016, the first time I just visited the country more on a vacation, Emilio, my husband, was so scared of absolutely everything. We stayed in Santo Domingo.
By the way, this guy, he's a big dude.
My husband's a large man.
Dominican man.
Correct.
Yes.
Not exactly the guy you'd want to pick a fight with.
No,
or,
I would never.
I feel like most people, you'd see him in a dark street, you'd be like, I'm walking away from that guy.
I asked him for permission to have a date with you. Right? My wife as well, but I asked him. So,
Very smart.
Yes.
But the first time when we came down, I remember we were at this hotel and he was going to take me to the colonial zone, right? Where they have all the touristy things. And I'm talking like, the old German people that have socks on with like Tevas. So I thought I would have been fine to walk around this area. We're leaving the hotel and he's like, well, I don't want you to bring your wallet because, just in case anything happens on the street. I'm like, okay, lock that up, put that in the safe. And he's like, you probably shouldn't bring your camera. Back in the day when you actually had a camera. So I was like, okay, that's the whole point of sightseeing, but okay, fine. He's like, no, it's too dangerous. We can't leave it. So I'm like, okay. So I blocked that up. And then he was like, well, I guess you really shouldn't bring your phone. You have an iPhone. So I was like, okay. And then I looked and I was like, well, I guess I don't have anything to put in a purse. So I'm like, I guess I don't need to bring a purse because there's now nothing in it.
Sure.
So he really was very concerned when we first got here. I traveled a lot. Like I said, I've lived in multiple countries. I traveled for about 6 months a year on my own back in my 20s. I wasn't really very concerned here like he was. But I felt like he ingrained in me that like you had to be so wary of anybody around, which probably was helpful at the beginning. Here in Punta Cana, I don't really worry about things like that.
Yeah.
I think just as much as in the States, you still have to just be smart. Like if you've had too many drinks, be careful walking on the streets, especially at night.
Oh, yeah.
Don't, have your wallet out. Don't be flashing money. I think, unfortunately, not enough people are wary of those things, but it doesn't matter to me if you were here or if you were back in your home neighborhood. I think there's just smart things you have to do. But I feel very safe here.
Driving is the thing I feel least safe with. Honestly,
Really? Why would that be?
Yeah, I know. Not even as much here in Punta Cana, but like just around. And when it gets like, we drove back from Cabarete to Santo Domingo, what's today? 3-4 days
Monday.
ago. Yeah, so like last week, Thursday, Friday last week. And we got back later than I expected into Santo Domingo from Cabarete, and it was dark. It got dark. I had my kids, my wife. It makes me nervous, not because of like, I don't think anybody's gonna mug me or jump on the car or anything like that. But, you know, like roadside isn't as available if something happens, and the driving at night, there's no lights on motorcycles, there's no lights on some cars, right?
That's
like,
the crazy part.
I can't see things, right? Like, and all of our, I don't know about your windows, my windows are tinted, all of the windows, so it's like, it's so hard to see at night that I'm gonna hit a pedestrian because they assume everybody's gonna stop, like, or they assume they'll get across. There's no notice of, I've always said Dominican drivers go and then look second.
Correct.
Right? So,
I completely agree with that. We do something similar. Emilio does not like to drive after dark.
Yeah.
Like we have to get like back to like the neighborhood or like be close.
Right.
But coming from the north to the south or vice versa, the new highway that they put in, absolutely fantastic to be able to really just get to other areas of the country. That was great. But that road is very deserted. All of a sudden service goes out. So even if something did happen, one, there's no place to walk to.
Right.
Two, sometimes you can't make a phone call.
Yep.
So that part gets really kind of tough. But on that road, regardless, you're not going to find a pedestrian there. But if somebody wanted to pretend, and this happens in the States as well, if somebody wanted to pretend that their car broke down and you stop for help, and then all of a sudden, there's nobody else around.
Yeah.
There's nothing there at all. And honestly, on that road, there could be a cow or a goat crossing the street.
100%.
And you have no idea.
100%. What's your favorite spot that you've traveled to on the island?
So Emilio every year takes me on a road trip.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've actually gotten to see so much of this country from that. Bahia de las Águilas.
Yeah, I haven't been yet.
It's just so cool just because that's what I love about it, because not that many people have seen it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. Love Pedernales as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would probably say Las Terrenas, which I know is a very popular answer. I mean,
one
the
of my
beaches
favorites.
there
My
are
favorite
absolutely
other than
gorgeous.
here is Las Terrenas 1, Cabarete 1A. But yes, I get it.
Then I'll tell you my favorite beach, even though I don't really want to tell other people. But in Playa Palenque, Cocolandia, it is gorgeous. Black sand beach.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. What was interesting when we came back like 2 years ago, the way that the tide had shifted, it actually washed away most of the beach. Because my problem is, if you haven't noticed, I like to get tan.
Yes.
I like to sit in sun.
Me too.
You look like you spent a lot of time doing that. But a lot of Dominicans don't sit in sun. So our issue with my husband's family is always, how is there space for Becky to be able to tan and sit on sand, and yet everybody, and still have my husband, the family, be able to still look like they're with me and clearly also make sure I'm safe.
Sure.
So Playa Palenque used to have actually a space there that you could sit and tan. That was absolutely amazing, but all of a sudden the current changed and completely washed away all the sand.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But the most gorgeous, idyllic beach I think I've ever seen in the world.
And where is it? Where is it? Like on the island? Where?
By, like out towards Nizao, so like an hour like west of the capital.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got you. What is the favorite thing for you living on the island, living in Dominican? What's your favorite part about living there?
Ooh, thank you. To me, this is all a game. I feel like I get to be in a place where I get to be challenged every single day. I have a completely different language that I get to figure out. And as much as you can learn the language here, people sometimes like to make up new words or use new phrases that are really confusing and weird.
Are you fluent?
No.
Where would you put your fluency? Because you're better than I am.
My Spanish is very good. I don't think I would ever call myself fluent, just because, one, there's so many different types of Spanish. Dominican Spanish is very, very different than other Spanish. But also what's interesting about Spanish here is I feel like a lot of words or phrases are created out of music. So I feel like I could never always be the first to understand those things. So I don't think I would ever call myself fluent, but my speaking is very good. I probably wouldn't have me write things.
You wouldn't say it again?
I would not have me write things. I would not ask me to like write an essay. I can write, que lo que in a text message, but I probably writing like paper, but otherwise conversation, like I can handle my own and I feel very comfortable in that.
Got it.
But there's so many just new words being created or thrown out, or I originally learned Spanish when I lived in Spain. Words and terms are just different here.
Got it. Yeah, I can see that. And even the accent, like there's more of a lispy accent in Spain than say here, right?
Yeah.
So, and the speed. They talk fast here. Holy cow, I think anyway.
They do speak fast here. Where I lived in southern Spain, though, they do a very similar thing where they don't really use all of the word. They just kind of chop off the second half. So at least I feel like they prepared me for my time here in DR.
Very cool. What's the biggest challenge for you living here?
I don't know. I don't know.
No?
Biggest challenge. Probably just understanding. I'm not going to say how things work, but how things work in the Dominican.
Okay. Give me an example.
So when we bought our home last year here, you need electric. You need to put electric in your name and you open an account.
The process.
And then you could do that.
Yes.
But no. Not here in the Dominican Republic. You have to actually go to an office.
Yes.
Sometimes with the seller and say, hey, take the electric out of your name and put the electric in mine.
Yeah, the process.
And then you have to bring this paperwork or this paperwork. Or I think I've been working on my residency for here. I did all the paperwork. You have to start things in your own home country to be able to start that process. Then you upload that to a website with the Dominican government and then they verify it and certify it and then they give you an appointment here with immigration. You would think that when you got here, that meant if you had the appointment with the verified documents, that the documents were verified. Oh, no. Not here. Then you get the appointment and then you get the conversation about the documents. But I'm like, so I had to come here to the Dominican Republic to find out what paperwork I need back in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So it's just trying to figure out those processes. So once again, it is very, very helpful, I'm sure, too, with your wife, to have 100%. Somebody that's from here.
Although it's burdensome for her that she has to deal with it more than me. But yes, it's majorly helpful. Otherwise, I would have no idea why are we... The doctor's office is an example. I had a procedure, a colonoscopy. Sorry, over food, I apologize. But like at the end, I had to go in for like the results. And I'm thinking like, they're like, you have to come in. I'm like, oh, can't you just... No, you have to come in. I'm like, oh my God.
And that's like scary.
What happened?
Right.
They're like, no, you just have to come in. So when I went in, they're like, oh, everything's good. Like, why did I have to come in for that? They're like, well, because you have to come in. Like, that's the process.
Right.
Like you said, my wife got her cedula. She's a citizen.
Right.
But she had to get her residency and get her cedula when she moved here as an adult. And it was like a 4-day, multiple hour, here's all the things you said I need. Yes, but you still need one more thing. Correct. It's downstairs in that line and then bring it back up here to that line.
Oh, and then you go downstairs. Oh, and the guy, he decided not to come to work today. It's Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Why would somebody come to work on a Friday?
Yeah.
So that part's been really difficult, but I at least feel like I get my retribution when I'm back in the States. So with my husband being from here, he moved to the States when he was 18 years old, right before his 18th birthday. So he then had to learn English. So as happens very often, you hear this, I feel like all the time with like parents that then had kids in a different country where they always ask the kids to like call the doctors or like to make appointments and stuff like that. So I feel like when we're in the States, my husband asked me to make his dentist appointments.
Sure.
But then when I'm down here, I'm like, so you need to find me a dry cleaner.
Yeah.
And can you make an appointment with the dentist for me now? So it's interesting to have, since we go between the two countries,
Sure.
to have that flop to then be like, hey, this is now your country. You now are responsible for those certain things. And then we're back in the other country. Now we pass it back to me.
The process.
But yeah, the process. And like I said, because here, sometimes I don't necessarily always find things to be logical. I've never seen this many people go to a bank.
Yes.
They're always at the bank. There's always a line.
Bank's an hour. No matter what you're doing, the bank's an hour. Easy.
Right.
Yeah.
But for what? What is everybody doing at these banks?
I don't know. Paying each other through their accounts and all that stuff. It's crazy. What is it?
Ooh.
Ay. These are amazing. Hold that thought on consulate in DC. Let's grab these.
Ooh.
Grab one,
See,
please.
but how do you? That's it.
I don't know.
What's the etiquette of how to eat a croquette?
I don't know. You just grab it and eat it. I'm a dude. My wife would say that.
I'm gonna do that more as a dude.
There you go. I love that. That's even better. My wife would say that, like, no, you're supposed to do it this way. Like she knows.
Oh.
But she doesn't know.
I don't really know if there's ever been like a discussion of how to eat fried balls. So.
Not on websites I would go to. Maybe some other sites I go to for that.
So what are in these?
Short rib.
Ah.
And that sauce is really good.
The one on top, you mean?
Oh my God, yes. You can get that mixed in. I would recommend it highly.
I'm trying to.
Mark it. You've outdone yourself. Wow. These are good.
Is that like an aioli?
I think so. A little kick to it. No?
It does have a little spice. Yeah, that's like some Chipotle mayo. That's what we're looking for in there.
I don't know what the difference between an aioli and a mayo is. What would you call the difference?
I think one is just the gringo version.
It's all marketing.
Right.
It's all marketing.
Aioli sounds so much more interesting.
So, Eric, grab one.
These are good.
Grab one, guys. You gotta try it. Oh my God. So the question comes up all the time, how do I make a living and live in DR? So let's talk about you specifically. You and Emilio, your husband. How are you guys making the income to live here? Do you work locally? Do you work somewhere else? Like, do you work remotely? Do you have your own business? Like, walk through that for us.
Sure. So my background's actually in cancer research. That's what I did for about 15 years. That years ago, my role went remote. So that was nice and simple. And that was something that I explained and had that conversation. I think this is something a lot of people do not do. Have a dialogue with your office, wherever you work, and see what they're willing to accept or not accept. So I just went and was like, hey, one of my goals is actually to live abroad for a couple months out of the year. Is that okay? Well, yeah, it's fine. You just have to fill out a couple pieces of paper. Okay.
You don't get what you want unless you ask for
Correct.
it, which is so prevalent here too. People don't tell you what you don't know unless you ask. I'll give you an example of that later, but continue.
So that kind of started off. Then in 2018, my husband and I started buying rental properties. We lived in New York, right outside New York City. Actually, at the time we were in New York City. And he, once again, when he moved from the Dominican Republic to the States, it was very much that American dream, life is better, more opportunities, all of that. So it was really important to him to have the house, the white picket fence, all that type of stuff. I said, no, we live in New York. This is really expensive. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck just to pay a mortgage. I said, we got to come up with a way to be able to find how we can make money and own our own home.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody I came up with the best idea ever. Don't tell Brandon Turner, but I came up with the best idea ever, which was to buy a multifamily, live in one side, rent out the other.
You house hacked before house hacking became house hacking?
Apparently it was a thing, but I didn't know. I had no idea that the real estate investing world even existed out there. I just thought this was a great idea that I had. We bought our first property in Yonkers, New York, moved into it, and literally at the closing table, Jamie, I was like, you're gonna give me a check from my tenants living in the other unit, and I'm already living rent free. Yeah. How many New Yorkers can say that they don't have to pay to live?
Becky Nova.
Exactly. That's thousands of dollars to live in New York City.
Absolutely.
So, and now I'm getting paid to do it. So I actually said at the closing table, oh, that is it. This is amazing. I'm doing this again.
Yeah.
My realtor laughed at me. The title company laughed at me. The mortgage company laughed at me. And they were like, because I had just spent my monies on that first property. Got it. So they were like, lady, like that's not how this works. You're never gonna be able to do this again. And I was like, no, I'm gonna figure out a way. That's when I jumped into all of the different real estate investing groups, learning what was going on out there.
What year is this?
That was 2018.
2018, got it.
Yep. We ended up buying our next rental property, a 4-family, and a parking lot, which in New York, that's a big thing.
A lot of parking lot.
Other states not.
Just a lot or like a garage?
No, it was just a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yep. We were able to buy that exactly 365 days later.
Wow.
May 22nd, 2018, May 22nd, 2019.
Amazing.
So from there, we just started buying up more and more rental properties. Took me about 3 years, 10 properties to get to 100K in profit. Honestly, that was when the pandemic hit. My husband was laid off. He was a bartender. Everything was closed and home. And I remember he came home and was like, hey, lost my job, sent home. Restaurants, bars are closed. We just lost an income stream. What are we going to do? And I was like, honey, like, we make more money with our rental properties. You're kind of a kept man right now. Like, you don't really have to work.
I love it, yeah.
So that really kind of opened his eyes, but he still kind of was just like, it was too out of the box thinking for him at that point in time. He still was just like, you with your crazy ideas, you doing all these different things. So I went online at that point in time, and I was like, somebody else has to think like me. So I ended up starting a Facebook group called Lady Landlords. Yeah. And I was just like, cool, it'll just be like me and my mommy hanging out in this Facebook group I started and no one else will care. And I was wrong. We ended up having like 100 people join that week. Then we had 1,000 people join that month. We now, 4 years later, have 50,000 members across the United States. I know, I should have done much better.
Yeah, really, double that, come on.
But that's what we're working on now. But after like 2-3 months of having that group, I noticed that so many people, so many women needed confidence, education, knowledge about how to make that work. And now our portfolio was successful. So between our rental properties, then the educational resources and the mentorship program that I put together for lady landlords, that covers what we need to live here.
Amazing.
Then my husband, he still works as a bartender. He works in a rooftop spot.
In the city, in New York, not here.
Correct. In New York, he works on a rooftop, so it's closed during the winter so we can be here. And then he became a tax preparer.
Oh, no
So now he can even work when he's down here.
Oh, wow. So you guys split the year, correct? You're here 6
Correct.
months or whatever, and then there. You're here for the cold, back there for the warm.
Now. The next step, we haven't told him this, but next step is 5 months here in DR, 5 months in New York, and then 2 months back in Europe.
Why Europe?
I loved Europe.
Yeah.
So the first question you asked me today was kind of why DR? And I told you, well, that was just kind of the circumstances. I probably would have moved back to Europe.
Nice. Yeah. What part of Europe will you go to? Will you move around?
I think I'm going to go back to Spain.
Yeah.
I think Spain is a great kind of launch pad. I think it's a great place just to be the kind of home base, really accessible to get other places. And also, I spent a lot of time trying to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
I don't want to now go to Germany and have to start all over.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to me, keeping a place where I understand the language, and since I lived in Spain for 5 years, I have a good feeling of just how things kind of work there.
There's two things I have to say. One is, I didn't think I was going to, but I'm going to have a second one of these. These are
Go for
amazing.
it.
And I'm going the Becky route.
Picking them up and trying it this way.
The other thing is, you meet a lot of people. I feel like you're pretty active here. I see you at the gym and all of that. And we didn't even get into daily routine, but we will in a second here. But what are you seeing other people that live here do to support themselves? What is most common? Good
question. Here, multipreneurs.
Yes.
I feel like you meet somebody and they're like, yeah, so I'm bartending today. And I'm like, great, I just got down here. I'm looking to rent a place. Oh, great. I get off in 2 hours. Happy to show you some rental properties. Okay, let's go look at rental properties. Oh yeah, no, this house is great, but you know, I would need a car to live here. Just works out for you. I also sell cars. I feel like people here do a really great job of just picking up multiple income streams and kind of making money in other places. It's either that, or I feel like you meet a lot of people that kind of have their own businesses that maybe they've had for a couple years, so still fairly established, and then are able to live here based on that. But the biggest trend I see is that most people come here with work.
Yeah. What are they doing with work? What's the most common industries that you see people? Like, I know the 3 or 4 that I've seen, but you're saying like remote work. Would they make their money in the US or Canada or wherever and they work here remotely? What are some industries you see that?
Probably more of social media strategy.
Yeah.
Website design, graphic design. That tends to be what I hear the most.
That's interesting. I see tech,
Okay.
IT, something in IT.
Yeah.
I see sales, a lot of salespeople that don't have to be in one place. They can do phone or Zoom type sales.
Okay.
And I see customer service. A lot of people that work remotely in customer service, like
interesting.
Either their chats, live chat, or they're doing it by phone. And what's funny is, I've met a lot of people who say, I don't have to be in one place, but my company doesn't know that I live abroad. So I get VPN, and I'm good, and nobody challenges that. So
I mean, that's a strategy.
Yeah.
The problem with, and tech is so not my thing.
No, me neither.
So once again, the fact that people do things in tech is about the limited
I don't even know
knowledge
what that means, to be honest with you, but yeah, tech sounds cool.
But with VPNs, apparently, if somebody really wanted to, you can tell that somebody is using a VPN.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Know nothing about it, yeah.
So once again, if somebody wanted to know where you were, like they could. So I don't know. I think people should just do it and give it a try and see what that looks like.
It's interesting though, to your point, like I met a guy that moved here in a job, a customer service job. He moved here. Wife is Dominican, I think. He's from South Carolina. Moved to Dine, and then eventually over to Punta Cana, because he's like, Dine is great, but like at a point, you want the amenities and more of a modern lifestyle, if you will. But where he wasn't able to continue or something with that role, he just found other things. So your point about multipreneur, just found other renting cars or whatever.
Oh, you need an excursion. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a guy that's got a guy. Because what I think is interesting, I did my 40th birthday party here in February. And I wish I'd known you guys better. It was a fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
And I hired a band and rented out a restaurant, and then I had a boat tour and did a big party for Super Bowl and those types of things. But I felt like everybody I talked to was like, yeah, you need a boat tour for the day? Cool, $50 a person. But really that person took $5, but then that person then put me in touch with the next person. They probably got $5.
Yeah.
The boat was probably $20 a head. But by the time it went through this daisy chain and got to me, I'm paying, the premium here of $50 because it took me 6 people to find it.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people just start to pick up other opportunities.
100%.
I think there's also so many opportunities for those that speak English to still be able to help others acclimate to being here.
Yeah, I've learned that entrepreneurship is survival here. It's not just like a cool Instagram video that you do, like, look at me, I'm an entrepreneur, but it's literally survival. Like you see the kids that are washing your windows or selling windshield wipers or flowers at red lights. Like, these are kids that should be in school, which is really sad. And it's interesting to see that, like, they survive based on, like, I got to figure out a way to make money, right? I got to figure out a way to live and eat today. So, like, to me, entrepreneurship here is survival. Like, you find a way.
Well, to me, hustle culture takes on a very different meaning in the Dominican Republic than it does in the States.
I agree.
I feel like we're like, oh, let me post to my social media. Oh, let's get, this content filmed and things like that. But here, one of the things I love about the neighborhood where my husband's from, it's this cute little neighborhood, and it has a lot of multifamily homes, and a lot of people turn the garages into businesses. So who's selling an empanada? Who does hair? Who does nails? It's just so cool.
Massage parlors, right? Yeah.
Right, and it's just, what do we need to be able to do to bring in kind of that extra money?
Yeah.
And I think that's really fantastic. When I was here in October and stayed with my husband's family, all of a sudden, his aunt has a daughter. They had the 2 bedrooms, but now the daughter was sleeping in the same bed with the mom, because they had turned her bedroom into kind of a salon where she did eyelashes and eyebrows, which was just fantastic. And then I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching these clients go in and out of what services these women were needing. And then there was another person or two that was coming in and out of the house, and I was trying to figure out, like, what was going on there. And I was like, oh, well, this one comes over and we feed her, so that's why, we get paid to make her a little bit give her a little bit of food. And I was like, okay, what about that one? Oh, well, she comes over and she uses our shower. Yeah. So I make a little bit of money with, her coming over for a shower. And I'm like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then I needed a service to go to the immigration office. Hey, we got the guy in the neighborhood. Don't worry, he'll drive you. Give him a little bit of menudo.
Yeah.
Give him a little bit of money here to be able to get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's not a word you would ever use
in
Spanish.
Yeah,
but here,
I just thought of the band too. It made me think of the old group. Yeah.
when my husband's aunt said that to me, and she was like, "Oh, do you have menudo?" I was like,
"Menudo?
You want to hear this?
Ricky Martin?
You want to hear the song? Like we're trying to get out of the cab.
Yeah.
We got to pay the guy.
Yeah.
What are you asking me to play you music?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's funny. I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. I have to tell my wife she's failed me because she hasn't taught me that one.
But it's all those little things. I think it's really cool how people here, and you're right, children too, they learn at a very young age. We went on that dune buggy tour.
Yeah.
And you could tell that the neighborhood kids knew what corner to stop at.
Yeah.
And they knew that people would be coming through, and they stood there on the corner, and all the tourists would throw them money, and then the buggies take you to the place where there's the empanada truck at the end.
What I've said is there's what's lacking in resource here is made up for in resourcefulness. Like there's the people here don't have a choice. Like they don't. I always tell the story. I remember after the Hurricane Fiona.
Yeah.
There was this Honda Civic.
Sí, gracias.
No?
Sí, no para mi esposo.
Sí, acá. I remember seeing these 4 guys in a Honda Civic with like 4 or 5 plywood panels on the roof, and they're holding it. They're holding it on. Like they don't have the tie downs. They don't have a rack. They don't have anything. They got this car. You see it, and they got 4 hands. That's what they hold. You see it on bikes, right? Like guys or women on motorbikes. I've seen a guy holding a washing machine on the back of his motorbike.
Wash machines, televisions, whatever they need to transport.
Yeah.
Well, I think here, people are very good at making do with what they have.
Correct.
And there are situations.
We lose that a bit.
Correct.
In the US, right? Because it's like, oh, well, it's not ideal to do it that way, so I'm not going to. Like you said, I'll do a social media post. It's like, man, you could be way more resourceful.
If you ever kind of want to like check your privilege, getting out to any other country and really seeing how people do things differently is incredibly important. But I feel like here, yes, there are people that absolutely have to do those certain things because that's how they put food on the table.
Yeah.
And they need to sell those bracelets, and their kid can't go to school because they need the money.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality here and in so many other countries. But in general, it's just like, no, I have to move a washing machine. Of course, I'm going to put it on my motorcycle.
Right. Yeah,
why would I not?
That's what I got. Yeah.
Right. And it's just so interesting. There's not like the conversation of how we could have done this easier. It's just like, no, motorcycle, washing machine, duh. And I like it.
That's it. What does a daily routine look like for you living here? A lot of people ask that question, like, what's it like? I mean, I think the question comes from I want to make this move, or I'm interested in moving abroad or moving to the Dominican Republic, but I've got this really cool, like, can I just go to a gym? Do they have that, or am I lifting like bamboo sticks in the woods? Like, so they want to know what a.
It depends on where you go.
That's true. What a day in the life in Punta Cana for you. What's
Right.
a day in the life typically look like for you?
Sure. So my favorite thing in the entire world is going to the beach. Go to the beach. So I actually rearrange my entire schedule around me going to the beach so I can read. So what that means then is I set it up where I get up early. I love the gym. My husband also is a big fitness person, and I love aerobics classes. I don't care how 80s they are, Jane Fonda all the way, like that's like my thing. So the gym classes are not in New York where I can go at 5 and 5:30 and 6 and 6:30. They're at, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I get up nice and early, do a couple hours of work beforehand, then go to the gym, then come back. Then after that, I go to the beach.
Yeah.
And then around 3:30, 4 o'clock, my husband and I tend to eat late lunches. So we'll do a late lunch.
Oh, so
and
this
then
is good timing then.
This fit
Perfect.
perfectly
Yes.
with my routine. Then after that, I'll usually do my evening calls. So I break my workday really into two sets.
Yeah.
So in the evening, I'll have 2-3 client calls, whatever that looks like on that day. And then that's kind of my day. Then there's a couple nights I pick that like Tuesdays, there's a band I absolutely love. So Tuesday nights, we go see them. And then usually I go out, one of the nights on the weekend.
Very cool. All right.
But it's nice to shift your schedule to make it fit with what you want to do.
100%. I love that you work around the beach.
Yeah.
It's the number one asset in this country, and you work around the beach, which makes so much sense to me. So,
Right.
hey,
Bien, ¿y tú?
gracias. Bien, ¿y tú?
Ooh, wow.
Gracias. Thank you. Thank
Gracias.
you. Chicharron, let me say it this way. Let me introduce you to Chicharron risotto. This is not locrio. People say it's locrio. Like, it's not locrio. It's Chicharron risotto. It's next level good. So I'm going to let you dive in first. You got
Okay.
your spoon. You have the spoon, actually. I guess we're both going to use that.
Okay,
to
well
scoop.
then there we go. All right,
So
let me
dive
move
in,
that.
give it
and
a
I'm
try.
going to do this before.
yeah.
Actually,
I have one.
I already
Yeah.
have one.
I have a
You
second
got for
one
the
here.
other leg.
Very fancy. Yeah, right?
All right, so let's figure out.
get some. Make sure you get chicharron in there, whatever you do.
Oh, no. That's the main part of this
Yes.
for sure.
I know it goes without saying.
That, and I need a platano.
Yes, you do.
All right, here, you want me to grab you?
No. Grab yours. Grab whatever you're going to get, and then I'll take something out.
Okay.
You are my guest.
Aw, all right, for you now.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, we were talking before about. I'm just using my fingers. Whatever. My wife.
Go for it.
My wife would not approve. Use the knife.
Oh.
She would say.
See, we're the opposite.
You would use the fingers.
I feel like with my husband, most of the time it's just like, what can we eat with our hands?
Well, he's a guy. he's male. That's what guys do. My wife doesn't understand that. Just let me be. Just let me be, wife.
We're gonna have to edit that specifically.
I was gonna say something about something we were talking about earlier, but it just slipped out of my mind. That's all right. We'll try this and react to it. Ay.
All right, Chicharron. How are we doing that here?
It's like Chicharron didn't know it needed risotto, and risotto didn't know it needed chicharron. That's my take.
That is really good. It also has like all my favorite things in it. You have your platano, you have avocado.
Yes, habichuela.
Right,
It's
to add
really
in there.
good. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna take one
Great
more bite.
choice.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm
I
take-
need more of my
I'm
chicharron.
gonna take 2 more bites. Yeah, keep going. We got time.
So good.
I mean, the chicharron will kill you, but you'll die happy.
That's what
Yeah.
small portion.
It's a good way to die.
Which food, which course was your favorite?
We have one more course, just so you know, a surprise course at the
Oh yeah, I
end.
didn't know about that.
It's actually what this place considers its best food. Might surprise you, but I'm going with this course.
Okay.
Soup was great. I like the short rib croquettes, but anything with chicharron it has to be a favorite.
That is true.
What about
I
you?
feel like I need to find a way to throw that chicharron in that chorizo soup or chorizo in this. Ooh, actually that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Add a little spice, little chorizo to this. That would be amazing. Wow. The onions. See the onions?
Yeah. Shocking that a Dominican dish would have red onions in it.
know.
That's so weird. I would have never expected that.
I know. Really not missing anything Dominican. Mama Juana.
Right.
Pour that over the top.
Oh,
You'd be good
please.
to go.
I'd be on the floor.
Yeah. Last time I drank Mama Juana, I don't remember it. It was a Floyd Mayweather fight I was watching with friends. A couple shots of Mama Juana. The next day came. That's all I remember next is waking up the next day. So
That stuff is strong. My husband actually makes it in our house.
does he really?
Mm-hmm. Makes his own Mama Juana.
He's true Dominican.
That's what I love about him. I feel like every day I get to live on vacation.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about being here. You'd asked me this earlier.
Yeah.
But like, and I said it was kind of like a game. It's figuring out all these things that are different, right? There's just different words, different language. There's different processes to get things done. There's different food. There's different ways that just things happen here.
Yeah.
And I think it's really kind of cool.
It is cool. I agree. And you made me think of something I was going to say earlier, but I forgot it again, as you said.
Sorry.
Slipping in and slipping out. Slipping in and slipping out. But so you're the real estate lady. So I thought I was the cool guy here, the real estate guy. Episode 436 of Bigger Pockets. People don't know Bigger Pockets. Huge, the number one real estate website and podcast in the world. I think my episode got like 500,000 and more views, right? Like
Right.
Just, not because of me, just it gets that Bigger
Right,
Pockets,
they're
right?
huge.
But then I learned that you are a Bigger Pockets alum. What episode?
69.
16. All right, we won't have any more drinks. I'd have that discussion. But so you're episode 69 on Bigger Pockets. So you're the real estate person. Talk to me about real estate here for you. Did you buy? Are you renting? What does that look like?
Very interesting. So when you think about moving to DR, a lot of people love this idea, especially when you get into real estate. Let me own property in other places. I'll rent it out when I'm not there. It was kind of like the thinking about like house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Let me buy a place here. I'll live in it for the few months and rent it while I'm not here. Sounded really simple. So as I mentioned earlier, when we came down here in 2021, we started looking at properties. I'll never forget the first property that we looked at. It was in our complex in Playa Turquesa. Just start simple, right? Let's just look at something else that was there. This guy showed us a 2-bedroom and we said, hey, it also didn't have a beach view. It was kind of in the back. It was first floor. We didn't really like the setup of it. So we said, hey, is there anything else available? Nope. It's the only unit here. Only one.
That's big per him.
Well, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So then we're meeting other people around the pool, other owners, people that live there or rent there. And they're like, no, that one's available, that one's available, that one's available. We found out that it's not, there's no MLS, there's no kind of unified
Zillow,
place
right?
to
Yeah,
look
yeah,
up
yeah.
all the listings available.
Yep.
Then, once again, anybody that wants can be a realtor here. Poof, you are now a realtor. I mean, it's just very different.
Yeah.
And because of that, people like to show you the units that usually are their listings, right? Double commission.
Yep, double commission.
So that was a little tough for us. So then we started to go through, well, let's go look at everywhere else. Then you have the whole world here of new construction. What you see coming from the airport, $500 down,
Yeah.
US, reserve your spot, get a place in DR. That's all it's gonna cost, $1,000.
Right.
Sounds so cheap,
It
so
does,
great.
yeah.
And then part 3, make a fortune, Airbnb it. So
You and everyone.
right, and all the other thousands and thousands of units being built. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just all be millionaires here. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So we started looking at a whole bunch of options. I'm not really good with delayed gratification, so I was like, I'm not buying new construction.
I'm the same way.
I wanted
feel the same.
something. Plus, also, new construction does not mean that project will actually be finished,
100%.
or
Yeah.
that you're going to get it the way that
It's
you
the
want.
riskiest option. I've said that all the time. Doesn't mean
Right.
it will or won't. It's probably going to go long. It's probably going to be more than what you initially agreed to either way, but it is the riskiest option. You got money to spend, go for it, right?
And you're
Like,
you're okay to lose it.
yeah.
So I'm a risk taker, but that to me was just a little bit beyond what I was looking for. Plus, also, I wanted to live here now.
Yep. That's
I got my husband here
that's my
for 3
bigger
months.
thing.
I wanted to keep that going.
Yep.
So we started looking at a whole bunch of other units that were then all put together, and they just didn't necessarily have the things that really fit for us. I didn't really want to continue renting. I wanted to really own. So we did end up buying. What was interesting is the first year we came, in 2021, I felt like we looked around, just explored, figured out what our options were and how they worked. The second year that we came, we then narrowed it down. We didn't look at the new construction anymore.
Oh, para mí.
Oh, you're having that
Ay,
too?
Dios. No,
yo creo es para mí.
Sí.
Sí, porque necesito otro para mí, otro hermano.
Ay,
No,
Dios
that's
mío. It's the afternoon. Gracias.
Right, this brings a different meaning to happy hour
No
right
kidding.
now.
No kidding.
So the second year then, we knew that we wanted something that was already built, so we only looked at those options.
Yeah.
And then the third year that we came, I said, that's it. We want to buy this one complex. We're only going to look at that complex. I'm not going to go run around and look at anything else.
Yep.
So that was really kind of what narrowed it down there.
How did you buy it? Did you buy cash, refi some properties? Did you do a mortgage here? Like, what was the way that you did it?
So originally we had a certain budget, and I'll be upfront with numbers. We were looking at a 1-bedroom for $250,000. Under $300,000 was our budget. But a 1-bedroom in the place we were looking, $250,000 to $300,000 was about what kind of made sense.
Yeah.
So what was interesting, we would put offers in on places and be like, full ask, okay. And they were like, you know what? I actually kind of want $320,000 today. I just gave you full ask in cash.
Negotiate,
what are
like
you doing?
Gotta negotiate. Yeah.
No, but it was just people would just change their mind. Actually, we decided we're not going to sell it.
Yeah.
Then why did you list it? Made no sense.
Just to see.
So that was really frustrating. So we heard about, through once again the network of our owners, we heard about sellers of a 2-bedroom, fully furnished, with a car included. It was a little bit over our budget, but they were willing to do seller financing for that other portion.
For how long?
So it was like a 5-year. It was 5 years, but that was a small amount.
Was this an American or a Dominican owner?
Canadian.
Canadian, okay. All right. Seller financing is kind of a foreign language here if it's a Dominican owner, I've learned. So
we thought this was really interesting. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So, and when it's not like the States where then you put down a minimal amount with seller financing, but you try to negotiate. I was still putting down like the $250,000 in cash, and then I was going to finance, the other $70,000 or whatever, because it was just more than what our budget was looking for. We actually we originally went into the agreement thinking that that's what we were going to do. And then we just decided, you know what? We have the cash. Let's just buy it. Let's just not worry about how am I sending money to Canada for a property in DR.
Yeah.
Let's just make our lives easy. Yeah. But that was actually monies that I had actually waiting and saved because I wanted this property.
Yeah.
So I had that money paid in cash. I'm not big on refinancing things unless I needed to. I had cash available.
Sure.
So it was something that either I was debating on purchasing another rental property in the States or then really buying my dream home here. And I actually did both last year.
That's amazing.
I take all the profits from our current rental properties and I throw them just in that bucket to buy more.
How many rental properties do you own in the States? What's the total count?
In the States, we have 14.
14 units or properties?
14 units.
Units,
14 doors.
Doors, right.
Let's use, bigger pockets terminology here. I have 14 doors in the States and I have 2 here. So we own here in Punta Cana and we also have a property in Santo Domingo as well.
Got you.
So we bought that a couple years ago.
Are you Airbnb-ing the property in Santo Domingo?
No, that's a long-term rental.
Long-term, got it.
After we bought the second property in New York, my husband really wanted to just buy a property here in the Dominican Republic for Dominicans. That would be the way to go. Not the flashy beachfront property, but he really wanted to buy something in his home country.
Yeah.
So that was actually new construction that we bought in 2019, and that's a 2-bedroom. We rented out college kids that live there year round,
Very cool.
when I go to the parents' house kind of idea.
Yeah, very cool.
So we have that, and then this one here now in Punta Cana we do is a short-term rental.
So you're in the real estate space. There's a lot of questions. We talked about it a little bit about overproduction or oversupply of units coming on. And I've always said with Airbnb, people are like, is this a good Airbnb? Is that good? Like, I don't think there's a good or bad. It's like, if you're really going to treat it like a business and you could probably compete, but if you're just like buying something at Airbnb, good luck.
Right.
There's too many.
No.
What's your take on the market let's start with Punta Cana. We can broaden it if you have any say on it, but like, any thoughts on the market in Punta Cana?
Oversaturated.
Yeah.
Oversaturated. They're building so many units.
Yeah.
So many units. Like the competition is just insane. And then everything is Airbnb.
Yeah. That to me is the biggest thing. The Airbnb thing is too much, too many.
Plus, if you want to use it yourself and you plan on being here when everybody else wants to be here during the winter, then you're going to make no money.
Right.
Because now you're taking the high season away.
Yep.
Like if you think that you're going to Airbnb a place in July and make your money off of that in Punta Cana, not going to happen.
I agree.
Then you either have beachfront rentals, the more of the luxury type places. Now you're competing with an all-inclusive.
Yep.
But they're not an all-inclusive. They got to get their own transportation. They got to find their own entertainment. They have to find their own alcohol and food.
Yep.
Or you're off the beach, and then what? You're making like $30 a night.
Right.
I don't work for that.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you. I think that the reason to buy is because you want to use it, and if you have a budget that allows you to pay for that along with your regular expenses, cool. Anything you make, any Airbnb income or whatever, is bonus.
Correct.
That's how you have to buy.
We put an offer in on a place in 2021. that I loved. And I was crushed back then when I didn't get it. And same thing, I was paying cash. It was about $200,000. The pandemic really kind of brought down the price on that. But instead, since we didn't get it, we took that property, so that same $200,000, went back to New York, bought $1 million property with that 200 grand, right? You're 20% down. Bought $1 million asset, and then we're just making money off of that.
Right.
Now, when I bought here in 2023, I didn't have to worry about if it rents out or not.
Yep.
It was really just those 2 years and that delayed gratification, which I hate, really put us in a position to say that asset's paying for this liability.
What do you do with the property here, your house, your primary here, when you're gone 5-6 months of the year?
So that, I'll still rent it out. I throw it on the market.
Do people actually rent, are they renting it like midterm? Like 2-3 months at a time, or is it?
Completely all over the place. And I feel like that's a bigger part of the problem. So in May itself, I have 3 or 4 different bookings. People really coming down for like 4 or 5 days, you know, that type of thing. Airbnb.
Got it.
But somebody through Airbnb then booked September, October, November. So I lucked out on that because that, and listen, that covers my expenses here.
Sure.
So that covers my HOA fees, my cable, my internet. So that now allows me to live for free. But that was complete luck.
But what allows you to even rent? You booked May. So what is it about your property or the way you're handling it or whatever that you see as your advantage in being able to actually book Airbnb, even for the month of May?
Sure. I think one, having a beachfront property makes a difference.
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to go on vacation to an island, I don't want to be
inland.
Right. I don't want to have to take an Uber to get to the beach. That we have the availability there. So that I think really helped us. 2, with Airbnb, one of the biggest things that I feel like people skip over is you need reviews. You need kind of a book of business.
That's true.
There was a unit that I looked at that I was negotiating on. Screw the unit. It was nice, fine, but there's a ton of nice units. I was trying to buy the book of business.
Yeah.
I said, I want your clientele that come down. It had been an Airbnb for like 10 years. They were booked solid year round. I wanted those reviews. I wanted that book of business.
Yeah.
I cared more about that than I actually did about the property.
That's smart. Yeah.
Because usually when you buy a property, you don't get the book of business.
It's true.
You now get to start a whole Airbnb account all over the place.
Yep.
So what we did for that was, since we were starting that, we were able to do a bit of a discount if people had booked at least like 5 nights during that time. Then you got a special discount with that, just so that way we can kind of get some reviews in. Then we also had to add on services that made it seem more like an Airbnb. So we were able to include airport transfers. We were able to include a voucher for breakfast. Those things that just kind of gave a little bit more of that all-inclusive one-stop shop.
Yeah, so you're actually leaning into service. Did you think about hiring a company, a management company, or?
We do have somebody that helps manage the property down here, especially with cleaners in and out.
That's not who's listing on an Airbnb though.
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
So you get their superhost status, you get their reviews, so on and so forth.
But there's still a lot of freedom that the owner has. And I think that's a very big difference between property management services here in DR versus the United States.
What do you mean?
I feel like here, I get to write my own ad for Airbnb. I get a lot more control. I can set the price. I feel like with property management services in the States, that person really takes on a lot more of that responsibility and is much more proactive. I feel like here, it's like, but I opened the Airbnb account. Right. I put the pictures up.
Yeah.
I don't know why nobody else is booking it.
Do you see that as an opportunity here? A great Airbnb management company?
Yes.
Could they dominate?
No. I think it absolutely is an opportunity, but I don't think they would dominate.
Explain that.
One, I do feel that there are so many different opportunities here for American Canadian customer service to just provide a different level of service here in the Dominican Republic.
Like what? We'll go back to Airbnb, but give me a couple of industries.
Like restaurants?
Restaurants, yeah.
Restaurants, bar service, I feel like that. If you did that at a New York style, be amazing.
Even like grocery delivery,
grocery stores in general.
Grocery stores.
But yes, delivery services, things like that. I feel real estate in general. If the realtors really function the way that they still do in the United States, I feel like there would just be, I feel like in our country, we're a little more active.
Yeah.
When here, I feel like some things tend to be a little bit more passive.
100%.
Like, for example, hey, I had to like call my realtor and be like, I want to buy that house. Show me it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know, probably tomorrow. I'll call the seller. I'll check in. And I'm like, I have money. I'm making an offer. Show me it.
It's so funny. Like, people have asked me for months, a year, whatever, who's a realtor? And I was always like, I can't recommend that. Because there's just so I finally found a guy that I trust, that I like, that is proactive, that's award-winning, top salesman in the area for a huge brokerage. So like when people ask now, I connect them. I don't just give them the information either.
Right.
Because not only do I trust the guy and I wanna connect you to him, but also I wanna track it. Because he is still a Dominican realtor, and who knows, right? Like
that was gonna be my question. Where is he from?
Correct. He's Dominican, but he's an aggressive U.S. style realtor.
Gotcha.
That said, I want to be able to make sure, like he and I get on calls, like, all right, here's the 20 people that I referred over. What's the status, right? Like this guy's coming this day, this guy's coming that day. This is what's going on with that. I reached out to this person, whatever. But to your point, like it took a lot of effort to find a guy that I trust. There was a lot of people that like, oh, I can refer.
Right, I'll do that.
Oh my God. Like you said, everybody's a realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like from that side, like that is hard. So I feel like there's a ton of opportunity to bring improved customer service and processes and efficiencies to this area in a lot of those industries. The reason I don't think that it would necessarily do so well is because let's say you brought down a property manager that really understood how customer service and how we run property management in the States and brought them here. You still need the infrastructure, meaning your cleaning people, your handyman, all those things.
Yeah.
If you were still bringing people that just didn't understand that customer service and didn't have that ingrained in them culturally, how successful is that going to be?
Everything.
Plus,
that's true. You have plenty of labor,
then you're going to have to charge a lot more.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the amount of competition down here, how hard it already is to be able to get listings, how small the margins are, because if you're off beach and you're putting those lower listings anyways, you have thousands and thousands of other people you're competing with. Now you're going to pay a premium on that?
That's interesting.
I don't think I feel like it would be very difficult to get clients as a property management company and then to actually perform on the services that then they're requiring. Plus also here, beyond getting the cleaning people, the handyman that show up on time, right? Because Caribbean time is a thing down here.
Yes, it is. Island time, sure.
But sometimes something broke, something needs to replace, somebody ruined a tablecloth, whatever it was. That doesn't mean you could just go to a store and replace that item.
Yeah.
So I feel like and that's just because of supply chain issues.
It would have to be, you're right. It had to be well funded up front. You'd have to have inventory. You'd have to be fairly standardized across units. So maybe you could do it if you were in one particular development only.
Correct.
Where everything's the same and you've got a supply of that. You've got staff there and you could be on it and looking at it. So like Vista Cana is building all these units. So if you're in like this section of Vista Cana and you own that section as the manager, maybe you can do well.
And you'd also have to then get owners on board with your type of service. Other people, I'm sorry, but not all Airbnb owners should be Airbnb owners.
I agree.
Some people, honestly, this is not the industry for them.
Yep.
So there'd be a ton of people out there that'd be like, no, screw that, I'll take the cheap ones. Right? Or no, my clients don't necessarily need, this nice silverware. Hey, they broke it.
See? Gracias.
I mean, how many times have you seen people complain about Airbnbs because of either from like a safety concern or things don't work or things are just rusted out?
I'm good. You want it? Are you good?
I'm done.
You want more? Yeah. Yeah, we can take this. Gracias.
So I feel like that would be one of the other sides. Is then you need people. I feel like most of the people that are Airbnb owners here are the people that either think they're going to get rich without putting any work into anything, or are the people that are just like, cool, if I make a couple bucks, great.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be the ones to hire a service that, once again, is probably going to be a little bit higher priced than what the regular person here is going to do.
That makes sense. Gracias. Thank you.
So opportunity, yes. Practicality, no.
Yeah. So if you were starting a business tomorrow here, what business would you start?
I don't know if I would start one.
Yeah.
If I was, I can see myself either doing something like somewhere in that like networking space, like either like when I lived in Spain, they had intercambios where you would have a meetup and people would be able to kind of do a language exchange.
Sure.
It really was also just kind of speed dating.
Yeah.
But something to really kind of just bridge expats and locals together.
I agree.
I feel like we don't have a lot of that.
Well, we did that event here, right? The charity event. And I saw that too. Like,
when did this change?
That changed. It changed.
Okay.
You got a full fresh one there. But I saw that the impact of that event was we raised money for a great charity and people, but there was a starving for community. And these weren't just like American expats. These were Dominicans, local Dominicans that have maybe ties to the US or ties to Canada or just speak English and wanted a sense of community. They're doing well themselves. So community is, I definitely see that.
esos?
¿Qué es?
Burrata.
Ah. Hold on, let me break it. That's for you. I touched it. Never mind. Here. That's all you. Yeah, let's cut this for you.
Here, I'm gonna help you out.
You got it? Grab it.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, scoop it for me though.
Scoop it.
There we go.
There we
All right,
go.
thank you very much.
Of course. You ready?
Love pizza.
This is a New York review of pizza,
Oh, that truffle too?
I think. Smells like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Aw, little piece of home.
That truffle is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
As
What's
good as
on
the
this?
burrata is, it's definitely the truffle.
What is burrata? I don't even know what that means.
Burrata, it's like a mozzarella cheese.
That's this.
Yes, that's this. So it's not mozzarella, but burrata
It's
is
like cheese on cheese,
yeah.
and then this is just like some sort of
And that's
pesto?
the truffle.
That's the truffle?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's
shows my culinary knowledge.
I actually, when I lived in Spain, I used to own a tour company there. I then expanded into Portugal, and I bought a bar in Portugal, and I actually learned to cook there. So I had my restaurant there, cooked, and then when I moved back to New York, I had this idea that you can just do whatever you wanted that made you happy, and you didn't actually have to make money. So I was the first female line chef that Steven Starr hired in New York City, in Manhattan.
Wow.
And I learned, it was an Italian restaurant, so I learned all about burrata and truffle and all this different type of stuff that made no sense to me.
Well, what's your rating?
This is really good.
All right.
But listen, it's pizza.
I know, but
Pizza's
still.
my favorite food.
All right, but that's the point. Like, I think there's pizza, and then there's other things people call pizza.
Which also here, yes, there has been some very sus pizza for sure.
But even like Chicago, that's not a pizza.
No,
That
that is not
annoys
pizza.
the hell out of me. This big dish filled with meat. And it's a souffle that they call pizza.
When I was a kid, we were on vacation in Rhode Island. My mom and I went into this restaurant and we're like, hey, we'll take, 2 slices of pizza. And they were like, well, the response back to us was, do you want sauce? And we were like,
Rhode Island?
extra sauce? Yeah, in Rhode Island, like, do you want sauce? And we're like, there's 3 ingredients in pizza, crust, cheese, and sauce. Well, what do you mean no sauce?
Do they have a unique spin on pizza?
They have like white pizza or white slices, but there it has no sauce on it. And I was like, that's not pizza. That's just like garlic bread with mozzarella.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
But this is a signature of this restaurant. I haven't had this particular pizza. I've had the pepperoni pizza. It's excellent, but this is really good.
Pepperoni is very good here. And there's one other, what was it? It has like honey on it too.
Oh, hot honey. I've had hot honey pepperoni. That's really good. Yeah.
Right. This isn't that. This is another cheese. It's like a blue cheese with like honey on it or mascarpone. It's so, so good. But this is the closest I feel like as an American that I can get to like good pizza here in DR.
I agree.
So this is a treat since I've never had this
While you're gnawing on that, I'll ask you a question. I'll do it slowly so you can get that bite in. 'Cause I'm going to take another slice.
Go for it.
What is a piece of advice you would give somebody watching that says, man, I want to move, let's go DR and or abroad, both. But let's try to keep it specific to moving to the Dominican Republic since we've both done that. What is a piece of advice you'd give somebody that's considering moving here?
Do it. Do it. So many people get stuck on, but do I have enough money? What is enough money? How exactly is that going to work, like work-wise? But what am I going to do if I don't know the language? And people never end up doing these things. I feel like, and it makes me so sad that so many people are like, I want to experience something different. I want to live in a different place. I want to understand a different culture. And they just don't do it. It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the exact amount of money in the bank. You're never going to decide between the rental versus purchase and the best neighborhood and the best beach and before you actually get here and get to understand what that's like. Just do it. It'll work out. But don't listen to your friends and family.
What do you mean?
I feel like I feel that usually moving out of the country, even if it is for a few months, tends to be a little bit more of an out of the box thing.
Yes, it is.
People in general, we don't like difference. We don't like change. Humans like sameness. We like our community. We like likeness. We like what that looks like. So even if you're the one that specifically is finally getting over your own hurdle to say, let me do something outside the box, it's so easy to hear all of the other people around you not be on board with that and convince you really out of that. So don't listen to your friends and family.
I agree.
There were so many of us. And one of the other things I love about being here is I get to meet other people that are willing to live outside the box.
Yeah.
My community, my people are here.
That's true.
There are people like you that are like, yeah, I'm going to go to this gym. You know, and I go to the gym classes and aerobics class. I've never learned more about body parts and directions since I started going to the aerobics class here.
Is that right?
Yeah, like I understood those things in Spanish, but that's the entire aerobics class.
Yeah.
The entire aerobics class is in Spanish. I get to talk to these other women about what they do for a living, how they make money, how their family structure really works here, which is so cool.
Yeah.
If I let a friend of mine that was just like, what are you going to do? You're going to go to a gym in another country? That's ridiculous. Like I would never
if
be
they could
here.
see the gym.
Right.
It's LA Fitness.
It's an Equinox.
Right, Equinox. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, our gym is nicer than the one I go to back in New York, to be honest.
Nicer than Planet Fitness for sure, yeah.
Right, it's amazing. But it's just, I feel like so many of us get stuck thinking that since we're doing something different than what other people do, that they just never do it. And that makes me really sad.
I agree.
Go live your life. If you don't like it here, go home.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this when you were on my podcast about like, you don't have to be unhappy to move. But if you're in a place where you're like, I want change, or I'm unhappy, or I don't like this job, or I want to move to a different place.
I'm craving that, right. I want to go somewhere else, yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work or you don't like it, you move back.
Yeah.
You go back and get a job. Like, okay, you've done that before, but give this a try.
Amazing.
That's my biggest.
Let's wrap it on that, Becky. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Where do you want to direct people?
Sure. If you are interested in real estate investing at all and you identify as female, come over to Facebook, find us on Lady Landlords. Like I said, we have over 50,000 other women there that we talk real estate all day long, which is fantastic. For anybody else to find me on Instagram at Becky Nova.
Love it. Thank you. Amazing. We're good. We can wrap on that. We're good.